Okay.
Greetings and welcome to the July 2018 Parched Eagle Beer School. There we go. Okay, so it's wheat beers this month. The last 3 beers that we have released, for those keeping score at home, have all been wheat beers. Seems appropriate for summer. First, we're going to be going over American wheat beer as a style tonight, as manifested by ours, Syndrome American Wheat Ale. Next up after that will be Berliner Weisse, represented by Westporter Weisse. And then third, Weizenbach, as represented by our Collab Weizenbach. So, okay, again, we're referencing style 1D in the BJCP 2015 style guidelines. So go ahead and bring that up on your phones. This is the point where I take off my glasses because I'm old and I need bifocals. Okay, so category 1D, American wheat beer. So we start with the vital statistics, they're called. This is very much a session beer style, lower in alcohol, in other words. So the ABV ranges from 4.0 to 5.5. Syndrome came in at 4.4. IBUs are 15 to 30. Syndrome is up in the upper 20s, 29 or 30 as I recall, and very light in color, as manifested by SRM there, 3 to 6. Overall impression. Yeah, so American wheat ale is really a style that's a craft beer style that's come about in the last 30 years or so. Really, the benchmark of the style is Bell's Oberon. It's the most famous one. Refreshing wheat beers that can display more hop character and less yeast character than their German cousins, Hefeweizen. So I'd say a principal characteristic of American wheat beers is, yeah, it doesn't have that real phenolic profile that German wheat beers do. And that's going to be manifest. We'll get that, a hint of that, more than a hint of that with the Weizenbach coming up here. A clean fermentation character allows bready, doughy, or grainy wheat flavors to be complemented by hop flavor and bitterness rather than yeast qualities. So yeah, as is usually the case with the American craft brewery movement, we tend to hop things up more a tad in terms of beer styles. Either older ones that already existed or a relatively newer one that developed as part of the craft brewery revolution, like American wheat ale. Let's go ahead and get the aroma at this point. So I did dry hop this with Simcoe hops, and I'm getting a little bit of that unique Simcoe character in the aroma. Dare I say it, Simcoe is one of the dank varieties, Brian? Along with AKA piney, resiny. Aside from that, I'd say just a little bit of a malted wheat character, along with the Simcoe. Yeah, so low to moderate grainy, bready, or doughy wheat character, AKA wheat malt. A light to moderate malty sweetness is acceptable. Esters can be moderate to none. No, I've been getting some fruity esters from Syndrome, this new batch that I kegged on Friday. Mm-hmm. I'm not really getting that much in the aroma right now. Esters can be moderate to none, although should reflect relatively neutral yeast strains, absolutely. And I use an American wheat ale strain from Weisse for this. I'm trying to remember the number. If it's a low one, it's like 1028, something like that. Banana, a hallmark of German wheat beers, is inappropriate. Hop aroma may be low to moderate. I'd say the hop aroma on Syndrome is a little more, probably more than moderate, a tad. That's okay though. Can have a citrusy, spicy, floral, fruity character, basically reflecting American hop varieties. No clove phenols, which goes along with banana, getting back to German wheat beers. What do you guys get in the aroma?
Not getting much because my nose is a little plugged up.
That'll happen there, Mike.
Yeah.
Primarily the Simcoe hops.
Yeah.
For me.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I know that Brian doesn't like dank, so he's probably trying to not acknowledge the dankness in
Like those bananas.
Simdrum right now.
I'm still trying to watch out the good and hot for my mouth.
Let's go on to appearance, shall we? Okay, usually pale yellow to gold. I'd say Simdrum definitely fits that. See, I keep hearing that noise there in the background. I'm not sure what that is. Clarity may range from brilliant, which means clear, to hazy with yeast approximating the German Weisse beer style of beer. So, in other words, that would be hazy. Big, long-lasting white head. Yeah, so I posted on Instagram one of the first pours that Robert and I did of Simdrum at our tap room on Friday. It was quite hazy. That's kind of false advertising, isn't it? Because it's cleared out rather nicely.
Limited time.
Exactly. All right, let's go ahead and get the flavor at this point. Yeah, again, it's not quite as fruity to me right now as it was over the weekend. But then again, palates are subjective things. Maybe my palate has been subdued a little bit by the groovy chips. Brian, you're such a bad influence. They're delicious. I'm kidding. Light to moderately strong bready, doughy, or grainy wheat flavor. I think I get more of the wheat flavor in the flip. I get more of the wheat in the flavor than the aroma. Can linger into the finish. May have a moderate malty sweetness or finish quite dry. I'd say ours finishes a bit dry, along with some hop bitterness. So low to moderate hop bitterness, which sometimes lasts into finish. I think that's the case with Simdrum. Balance is usually even, but maybe slightly bitter. I'd say Simdrum falls into slightly bitter range. Low to moderate hop flavor, citrusy, spicy, floral, fruity. Again, the Simcoe is definitely evident. This is a single hop Simcoe beer. Esters can be moderate to none, but should not include banana, again, like the aroma. And oftentimes, really the aroma and the flavor characteristics, regardless of style, should be very similar. No clove phenols, again, like German wheat beers. May have a slightly crisp finish. So my inspiration for this beer is Three Floyd's Gumball Head. Who here has had Gumball Head? Looks like everybody except Mike.
I'm lame.
Mike, you know what? You are not lame, and it's okay.
All right.
Yeah, so I really like Gumball Head, and what I like about it is it's more assertive hop character. So I like Oberon too. Shall I tell a story?
Sure.
Really briefly? Okay, so I'm old, right? I'm going to put my glasses on for this one, Brian. Robert. Okay, so let's go back to 1995. I was living in Chicago. It was a killer summer. It was super hot that summer. Literally, hundreds of people died in the city that summer. And one night before I got an air conditioner, I resolved that the only way I was going to be able to sleep was to get drunk. So we went to they weren't called craft beer bars back then, but we went to a bar called the Augenblick, pretty close to where I lived on the north side, that had a lot of microbrews. And we discovered one that night from Bell's called Solson. Solson, they had to change the name a few years later, is now Oberon. And I did drink enough Solsons that night in order to pass out and get some sleep. I think I got an air conditioner the next day. Tangent. Oberon, again, is the benchmark of the style. Bell's Oberon. Mouthfeel, medium light to medium body. Let's go ahead and get the mouthfeel of Syndrome. I'd say medium, probably.
Yeah.
Medium light to medium. Medium high to high carbonation. Say medium carbonation, maybe a little.
Medium high.
Medium to medium high. Slight creaminess is optional as far as the mouthfeel. Wheat beers sometimes have a soft, fluffy impression. I'd say soft, not necessarily fluffy. Syndrome. Comments. Different variations exist from an easy drinking, fairly sweet beer to a dry, aggressively hot beer with a strong wheat flavor. American rye beer should be entered in the alternative fermentables specialty category. I did throw a little bit of malted rye in this as well, which I think may accentuate any fruity esters in it a little bit. Yeah, so as I touched upon earlier, as far as the history, an American craft beer adaptation of the German Weisse beer style using a cleaner yeast and more hops, first widely popularized by Widmer, an early Oregon microbrewery in the mid-1980s. Characteristic ingredients: clean American ale and lager yeast. German Weisse beer yeast is inappropriate. Large proportion of wheat malt, often 30 to 50%. Ours was right around 50%, which is lower than is typical in German Weisse beers. Interesting. American, German, or New World hops are typical. As far as style comparison, we've already talked about how it compares with Weisse beer. Generally can have the same range and balance as American blonde ales, which is interesting. But with the wheat character, it's a primary malt flavor. Commercial examples, again, Bell's Oberon, Boulevard Unfiltered Wheat Beer, Goose Island 312 Urban Wheat Ale. It's good. It's a real light one. And Widmer Hefeweizen. And I would have thrown Three Floyd's Gumblehead as a commercial example in this as well. Any questions about American wheat beer?
I got no questions.
Okay. That's okay, Mike.
Yeah, you explained things thoroughly, thank you.
You're welcome. Well, Brian, were you beginning to open your mouth?
So the rye addition in this beer, do you think that adds some spiciness, or would that be from the hops? So I get a little
I'd
bit
say-
of spicy.
I'd say it's more from the hops. I just
Yeah.
used a little bit. I used 12 pounds of malted rye because I didn't have quite enough wheat to do it. I figured that'd be fun too. So I don't think the rye is really adding much here. It's more fermentable.
How much wheat percentage is there?
Hold up. I'll bring up the recipe. Uh, 50%?
Wow.
Well, actually, it was like 45% because
Okay.
I balanced it out with the rye. And then the rest was Vienna in Syndrome. And again, single hop Simcoe. Okay.
Actually, it's pretty easy to avoid the banana esters depending on the yeast that you use. Is that true, or is it?
Well, certainly, yeah, but it's hard to avoid it if you use a German Weissbier strain. That's a hallmark characteristic of heavy Weiss and Weissbier yeast strains. We're going to talk about that because we're going to do Weissenbach later. Okay. Well, I think that's it for American wheat beer as manifested by Syndrome. So now we can take a little break and we'll move on to the next style, Berliner Weiss.